Uncluttered and Unfiltered is supported by Hearts for Minds. Can you imagine waiting 10 years to get screened for cancer? On average, people with mental health issues experience a 10-year delay between symptoms and seeking help, and close to 2/3 of mental illnesses go untreated. Hearts for Minds promotes healthy lives by promoting mental health education, facilitating early identification, and connecting people to treatment. Are you ready to learn more? Go to heartsforminds.org. That's hearts, the number 4, minds.org for more information or to learn how you can help. Hi, everyone. We recorded this episode before we were able to watch episode 6 of The Golden Bachelor, so stay tuned till past the end for our telephone recap.
Welcome to Uncluttered and Unfiltered, the podcast urging you to let it go and don't look back. With nationally acclaimed professional organizer Christine Stone and self-proclaimed hot damn mess radio and TV personality Eden Kendall.
Welcome, everybody, to Uncluttered and Unfiltered with Eden and Christine. And we love celebrating being over 50, but even we, at our advanced ages, I'm 57, you are
61.
We know that we can still learn from the women that are ahead of us.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what this episode is about. I came across an article and I shared it on our Ladies Only Uncluttered and Unfiltered Facebook group back then. And a lot of you guys said, wow, these are great. And it was... I asked a friend, there's not like a title. This is more like an essay somebody posted on their page. I asked a friend who had crossed 70 and is heading toward 80, what sort of changes she's feeling in herself. So that's what we're going to tackle in a few moments. We're going to give you some of her feelings on the things that she is now, I guess, she says there are things she's feeling about herself, but I also look at them as like kind of new policies that she has now put into place as the management, as the manager of her own existence.
Yes.
So we're going to get to that in a moment. We do love to lean into our differences and whereas a lovely vacation to wine country sounds perfect for you, for me, it's usually some kind of a race or some kind of an adventure that I go on when I travel. And so I just have returned from an 18-hour adventure race weekend. And
yes, and I texted you yesterday and asked if you were still alive.
And that was a valid question. Valid question. Because for one thing, these adventure races, let me explain what they are. You get a certain amount of hours depending on the race itself. Let's say it's a 6-hour race or a 12-hour race. Sometimes they are 72-hour races, and you can travel depending on of course, like I said, the race, by paddling, kayak, canoe kind of thing, mountain biking through the forest, and trekking, which is you've got your backpack and you're kind of trying run walking through this area.
God, this sounds
you're given
so dreadful.
Paper maps and you can only use a compass. You cannot use GPS. And there are checkpoints, a number of checkpoints where they have like a hole punch and you have these cards, and each hole punch is unique to that checkpoint and that thing on your card. And your job is within the 6-hour race or the 12-hour race is to collect as many checkpoints as you can. And the team that has the most within that designated time period is the winner. So instead of for our first one choosing the 6-hour or the 8-hour, we went for 18 hours.
That's like you. I'm not surprised at all.
A couple of the people on our team have done them before, and they've done the really, really long ones. So we were using their expertise for our packing and all of that. It was in Silver Springs, Florida. Beautiful, beautiful place.
I love Silver Springs.
But I didn't really train on my bike. I didn't really train on the paddling. So we're talking about hours and hours of biking through bumpy terrain.
Bugs.
Lots of bugs, lots of sore shoulders across the team from paddling. But the part that I really wanted to share with you is that because you have this extensive packing list, there are things that are mandatory when you're on your bike that you're carrying. There are things that are mandatory when you're trekking that you're carrying. You have bins for your transition time. So you have, like, when you come in for a transition, you can change things out. You have these shorts for this, these pants for that, and all of these things. So you spend a lot of time looking for things, especially if you're not naturally organized. Mm-hmm. So an example of that would be I had a pair of fingerless gloves that I was planning to use when I paddled, and I couldn't put my hands on them to save my life. Well, I packed them in my bike case. So there's just a lot of looking for things. So last night when I got home, I was looking for my car charger, And I started to have a panic attack. And my husband's like, why are you so upset about this charger? And I said, because I've spent the last 24 hours literally just looking through a suitcase, a backpack, a bin for stuff. Just pawing through things,
everything.
looking for stuff. And I'm having PTSD from it. I can't, I just need to have everything laid out right now. I can't look through another pile of black clothing for one particular item, or wires for one particular charger, or lights for this reflector or that headlamp. It just was too much. So anyway,
it sounds like you're speaking a foreign language to me, but go ahead.
No,
when it comes to what you did.
Right.
I mean, that just the mosquito, snakes, bugs, weird bugs, and then you're my hero.
Towards the end of it, because it was night and it was a Halloween theme, then you had like some people in costumes jumping out of the woods at you in the middle of the forest.
At night. Oh my God.
It was really, really fun and grueling.
Would you do it again?
So I don't think you could ask me that in the next 3 weeks. I don't know. It's like childbirth.
You forgot.
You would instantly say, no, thank you. But I think, and it was a fantastic bonding experience with my girlfriends. We had a really great time. But I didn't come out of it going, all right, when's the next one? As I tend to do on some other things. Sometimes I'm immediately ready to sign up again. Oh, this time I'm more like, hey girls, what if we this next time went to a spa? I mean, the company couldn't have been better. I don't know if I'm down for the next one, if it's 18 hours, maybe 6 hours, but it was fun. Gosh. But I did think about how much you would have hated it.
Oh, good. Well, at least she was thinking about me.
I was thinking about you. I was thinking,
God,
Chris would hate this. She would hate this part. She would hate my suitcase right now. She would hate the way my backpack is put together. I was a damn mess.
Well, I live vicariously through you, because you know what I did? While you were doing that, I was watching The Golden Bachelor and taking my notes. So in the air conditioning
with wine,
just enjoying my day, feet up, stretchy pants on. You know what I mean? So you're my hero.
Well, that's kind of you to say. I appreciate that a lot. It was a good time, but you know what I'll post my video in our ladies only page. So you can watch it.
Yes.
So I'll do that. And one of the things I say in that video, by the way, is I'm not questioning my life choices. I'm questioning my friend choices.
Oh, that means a little too much togetherness.
A little bit. So no, it was more about making that decision to go 18 hours over 8. So, all right, let's get into this. The things we've learned as we're getting older. And this essay was put together by somebody who is in her late 70s, I want to say, and going into 80, starting with the following. Number 1. After loving my parents, my siblings, my spouse, my children, and my friends, I've now started loving myself. I think too many of us wait too long to actually feel any kind of self-admiration.
I agree with that. I think I'm still working on that. I think that's a process. But by the time you're 70, I'm hoping.
Here's to hoping.
I think that your women are natural caretakers. Mm-hmm. So they're used to always taking care of somebody else, but not themselves. So that's something you have to practice and really put effort into. And I definitely have started to do that, especially since I turned 60. But it's something takes a little bit of practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. Yeah. And sometimes discipline.
Yes.
How about number 2? I have realized that I am not Atlas. The world does not rest on my shoulders. I'm not there yet.
I'm not there yet either. Honest. And I'm 61 and I'm not there yet. I think it's kind of like when I travel, I always get the exit seat on the airplane, the exit row. And my husband says, why do you always want that? Because the leg room. I said, no, because I was a flight attendant. And if I have to get everyone off this plane, I could do it. That's part of having all the weight on your, I think I could fly the plane. I'm always, when I'm on a plane, if I had to, I could get everyone off the plane safely. I still know the motto. I still know what to say. I still know how to remove the door. But really what you're saying here is give it up already. Give it up.
It's not
my job.
Your world to save.
No.
I mean, you can do your part always, but.
And you'd want me to if you were on my plane. But
I absolutely would want you to. But I also
it's not my job.
Don't want you to have that feeling all the time. And it's just like when my kids text me with any issues and problems, there's part of me that's so grateful that they still feel they can.
Yes.
And then there's another part of me that says what they don't realize they're doing is handing me a heavy brick.
Right.
And I'm going to carry that brick until they've resolved their problem, even if it's not mine to fix.
Right.
And so that's tough. That's a tough part about us being at the age we're at. Number 3, I have stopped bargaining with vegetable and fruit vendors. We were laughing at this because it's not like we're in the medieval times and we're all going to go to the market and bargain over there, other than the farmer's market. A few pennies more is not going to break me, but it might help the poor fellow save for his daughter's school fees. So you know what? There are times where maybe a service person comes out to your home and maybe they're a plumber that is their own boss or something like that, where there's a part of me that knows that everything's negotiable. But I like the idea of remembering that this is where he's able to bring home the bacon for the family, or she is able. It would be, I kind of would liken this to, let's not devalue what somebody else can bring to the table. Let's remember that, maybe $100 more for me to pay for a professional organizer or somebody to come and clean my house. If it's more that $100 might hit somebody harder, be more impactful to them than it is to me.
Well, I'm not a bargainer, so I agree with you. I think that number one, I feel like if that's the price, that's the price. A lot of people, my husband loves to bargain. So maybe that's why I kind of don't, because if I'm with him, he takes over. But I agree with you. If someone says it's this amount, I'm like, okay, like you said, maybe they have a child in school or they're having a rough time in their life. This is me. I just always think these kind of things. So I just pay it. And
And you have to ask yourself too, am I truly appreciating the time and talent that they're bringing to this job, which is just as important as the time that they're actually doing the job.
Right.
And if they've marked up the fruits and vegetables at their stand, maybe it's because the acquisition of those fruits and vegetables is now costing them more. So that's that one. Do you want to go on and take over with number 4? Yes.
I leave my waitress a big tip. The extra money might bring a smile to her face. She is toiling much harder for a living than I am. Ever since, I've always been a really good tipper, but ever since COVID, anyone that actually shows up to work, puts a smile on their face, says hello to me, has eye contact, I'm all about giving a big tip. I just think that it means a lot to me now that someone's making the effort to get out there and work any kind of job. I don't care what it is. I really don't. Grocery store, restaurants, I don't care what it is. If you actually have shown up to work, I'm a very good tipper now. Always have been, but better now.
Okay.
How about you?
I have always been as well. And I have been a waitress a few times, I was never very good at it, but I always was kind.
Right.
I tried to be kind. I really, one thing I could never be faulted for was attitude, being forgetful. Of course, that's kind of my nature, being, chaotic, being disorganized. Yeah, that's my problem. But I never wanted for having a good attitude. And so I always do try to tip heavy. And I can tell if the term is in the weeds. I can tell if a waitress, sometimes you show up for work and someone else didn't. And now you've got 10 tables and you've got to work twice as hard. And the service you're providing is not as good as it could have been or would be if you had the proper and appropriate amount of tables. So you try to be sensitive to that. I stopped telling the elderly that they've already narrated that story many times. The story makes them walk down memory lane and relive their past. Wow. I never thought of that.
I have to say, only in my 60s have I started listening and saying, only because I almost feel like I'm starting that process of my life of, my in-laws they're going to be, my father-in-law's 94. It is a process of reliving some of their good moments. Because what do they have right now? Almost all their friends are dead. I mean, it's a different kind of life they're living now. It's more like existing. And so I think I have softened a lot on hearing the same exact stories over and over, even though I'm sure me and my husband do that too, where we tell the same stories.
I'm sure I've done it a time or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, and maybe even on this podcast.
Right.
I do think though that I had not thought about the enjoyment they're getting telling it. as much as, for expedience purposes, like, hey, yeah, that part I know. Get to the end. Like, you wouldn't want to be rude about it, but I think we've all been in the position where you tell somebody, yes, I've heard that story actually a few times. Let them tell it. If it's enjoyable to tell it, and maybe in that 10 minutes it takes to tell it, they're back there again.
Right.
So I think that's great. Number 6.
I have learned not to correct people even when I know they're wrong. The onus of making everyone perfect is not on me. Peace is more precious than perfection. 100%.
I'm still working on that.
I'm 100% there now. You know what? Everybody lately has their own opinion, and I'm not going to change it. I have come to that conclusion at 61. You wished you could, but you're not going to. I mean, so yes, I think peace is definitely more precious than perfection. Just keeping things calm and peaceful.
Okay. Number 7, I give compliments freely and generously. Compliments are a mood enhancer, not only for the recipient, but also for me. And a small tip for the recipient of a compliment: never turn it down. Just say thank you. That's something that I have always appreciated, is a random compliment. And so I do try to do that in return. And sometimes to the point where I think it's almost awkward, where I'll say something and my daughter will just be like, but she's getting used to it now, where I'll just say, oh my gosh, tell me about your necklace.
Me too.
But it is nice to be complimented on something. It can make your day.
Yes.
And I did recently have someone tell me, just say thank you. Because I started to deflect it.
Right.
And say, no, this is, and they're like, just say thank you.
Yes. I love complimenting people. I love saying your hair looks beautiful. I love that top. Just like you. I think that one little thing can make someone's entire day. And why not?
Yeah. I have a friend that I don't see her that often, but no matter when I run into her, she finds the most random and tiny points to compliment me on. And I see her doing it to everybody around her. And they're authentic compliments, I would assume, because I don't think she's lying, but she might find the most, just the most random thing. She just has this way of complimenting you where you know that she's looking for the exact thing that she knows you haven't been complimented on before.
Wow. That's awesome.
I think that's, and I told her that, and she said, well, then you just did it to me because you just told me that, and I've never heard that before. So, okay, I give compliments freely and generously. Okay, number 8, Christine.
I have learned not to bother about a crease or a spot on my shirt. Personality speaks louder than appearances. I have definitely not gotten to that point yet. I'm sorry. Not about creases, but if there's a spot on my shirt.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
No, I'm not. I'm changing my shirt. I think that your appearance speaks volumes. I mean, if you have like mustard dripping down your shirt, I mean, it's like, oh, I guess she just ate such and such. You know what I mean? I have I don't know if I'll ever get to that point. I mean, a crease, maybe, but I don't know.
Uncluttered and Unfiltered is supported by Jack's Pickleball Store. The end of the year is fast approaching, which means it's time to start looking for that perfect gift for the pickleball lover in your life. Located in San Marco here in Jacksonville, Jack's Pickleball Store has everything you need to play pickleball, except a court and an opponent. Pickleball paddles, clothing, books, even earrings so your loved one can strut their stuff on and off the court. Can't decide? A gift card is the perfect choice. Learn more at jackspickleballstore.com. I walk away. This is number 9. I walk away from people who don't value me. They may not know my worth, but I do.
Yes.
Bravo.
Yes. 100%.
I remain cool. This is number 10. I remain cool when someone plays dirty to outrun me at the rat race. I'm not a rat and I'm not in a race. Yeah, I think, that there's a lot there. Okay?
I think there's a lot there too. I think there's
someone's playing dirty, and
I think at my age, it all depends, like you said, what it is. Like sometimes now I'll say how I feel, like that hurt my feelings, or what did you mean by that? Or sometimes I'm like, well, that's the end of that front. You know what I mean?
Move on.
Like move on and not saying, it all depends who we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If it's some stranger that I don't know, I'm not going to get all confrontational and say, but if it's, it all depends. Like you said, this is a loaded question.
And these are really just pearls of wisdom to mull around a little bit. I am learning not to be embarrassed by my emotions. It's my emotions that make me human.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
I've learned that it's better to drop the ego than to break a relationship. My ego will keep me aloof, whereas with relationships, I will never be alone. I'm trying to understand that, honestly.
Well, and I think that's a loaded question on what your ego, I get that part, but I mean, it all depends what the circumstance is. I mean, I don't think I have much of a I'm a very non-confrontational person when it comes to, getting into it with somebody. So I think that everybody has an ego and they protect that ego because it's part of what makes them feel as a whole person.
I think if you're talking about, you don't want a friend to know that how attached to them you have become because you want to be aloof and you don't want to have your ego bruised if they're maybe not going to be that attached to you. I mean, this isn't fifth grade anymore where you have to declare who your best friend is. So I
don't go on the Golden Bachelor. That's
you're
for
right
sure.
about that. So I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I don't know about that one either.
That might be a little bit too tough to break down in one podcast. I've learned to live each day as if it's the last after all it could be.
I totally agree with that. I mean, the world we're living in right now, you have to, and you should always tell the people that are near and dear to you that you care about them and that you love them because you just don't know what the future holds.
You truly don't. Would you not only read the last one, but then follow that up with your own personal policy, and then I will add mine?
Yes, I am doing what makes me happy. I'm responsible for my happiness, and I owe it to myself. Happiness is a choice. You can be happy at any time. Just choose to be.
Okay.
I think that's also loaded. I think sometimes it's easier said than done.
Sure.
If I'm going to be honest here, we have so many people on and they say, it's your brain and your brain can do this and switch things on and off. And all you have to do is be positive. But if I'm going to be honest, sometimes I think you really do have to stop and think, listen, I need to be positive today. I can't let such and such bother me, but it's something you work on as you get older.
It takes a little doing.
Yes.
It really does. Now,
yes.
And what about as far as if you had to add to the list? If they said, number 15, Christine Stone, what would you like to add?
Well, for me, it's more about, I think at my age, I've tried for so many years to add trendy in my wardrobe or patterns or bright colors. And I did it for the wrong reasons. I did it and with social media, you see, oh, look, she looks good in that. Oh, look, she can wear that. And finally, I swear this just happened at 61. I said, I'm done. I can only wear what I feel comfortable in. It's fine to have a trendy piece, a belt, a scarf, earrings, whatever, but I have to wear what I feel that I look good in when I look in the mirror, not what somebody else is wearing or someone thinks I should be wearing, or you look good in red. And I'm like, what? You know what I mean? Like, I've come to that conclusion. I don't get bogged into that anymore where people like, you should wear that. You would look good in that. So it took me a long time. I would try to wear whatever. In social media, you see all these 20 and 30 somethings, and it's hard because you're like, I'm not that old, so I'm not going to wear what they're wearing, but you see everybody wearing it. So it's a whole thing on what makes me feel comfortable when I leave my house.
Mm-hmm. I like that one a lot. Mine is simply, and I may have said this before, but as you just read in these rules, you can't tell me I did. You have to let me walk down memory lane when I say I will no longer do optional things that I don't enjoy. So if it's an optional thing and I'm invited somewhere and it's not like do or die and it's not going to leave somebody in a tough position or it's not work related and I don't want to go, I just don't go. I mean, there have been times where somebody will invite me to a concert maybe, and I might like that artist a lot, but maybe I would rather sit on the couch. That's an example. It's an optional thing. I don't want to do it, so I'm just not going to do it. Yeah. I don't let FOMO ever dictate what I'm going to do. Fear of missing out never is going to play into my decision making.
And I think that's something that happens in your late 50s, because that's when that started happening for me, where I'm like, I'm done. I'm not going to keep doing things that, number one, I don't feel safe. I don't feel comfortable. I don't enjoy it. And so you're getting there, honey.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there, because the FOMO is a real thing when you say yes just because you're afraid they'll have a great time, even though you dread going. You're afraid they're going to have a good time without you. You don't want to be, the party pooper. So you just go. And I don't do that anymore.
Good. I'm glad.
If it's optional, I'm just like, okay, you know what? I can't wait to hear all about it. You guys have a great time.
Right.
Tell me all about it afterwards.
Yes.
So there's that. Anyway, we'd love to know if you have any to add to this list. We will bump it more to the top on our social medias. But I want to tell you very quickly about something that we have just added today. I haven't even mentioned to you yet that I added this to our ladies only page. It's something we discussed doing. I just didn't let you know yet that I have done this. We are asking you, let me pull it up.
She's my tech gal, by the way.
Well, and we're about to run out of time, but let me pull up this one little question on our social media page so I can tell you how it says, ladies, we will be recording an episode highlighting rising up after a fall. So please share with us how you were able to face adversity and emerge victorious, or how you survived a tragedy and were able to move forward, or how you turned a bad situation into a good one. And you can comment here.
This is so good.
So what we want from you is basically what I just said. If something has come your way in life that
so good
would have set somebody else back, or maybe just you want to tell your story so you can give others hope.
And we will be reading these.
We will be reading these.
Each and every one of them I want to read. Because
we might reach out to you also and ask you if you could give us a voicemail version of it.
Right.
But we think everybody's going to benefit, and we have a very special guest for that episode as well.
Yes.
So that is coming up very, very soon in just a few weeks. So get on that if you would. In the meantime, please leave us a review, subscribe, join our Ladies Only Facebook page. It's called Uncluttered and Unfiltered Ladies Only. We're on all the social medias. And remember, you can let it go.
And don't look back.
As I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, we recorded this episode before the airing of episode 6 of The Golden Bachelor. But Christine and I had lots to say about this one. So we got together and recorded a phone call about it. What did you think? And there's a lot to think.
You know what? I was so, I mean, first of all, he tells 2 women he loved them, but doesn't tell the first one, which is, what's her name? Leslie?
Leslie.
No, not. He told Leslie and Faith he loved them.
Right. Teresa.
I got on the wrong thing. Okay. Teresa. So once again, I think that he is a player. All of a sudden this week, I feel like he's a big player because he tells 2 of them he's in love with them.
Right.
And then doesn't tell the one, which if he ends up picking her, this is my thing. If he ends up picking Teresa after all this, I just don't see a connection, and I don't think it'll last. I think that she is way more into him than he's into her.
Well, did anything stand out to you, something he said to all of the families about what he liked about each of them? Because what stood out like a sore thumb to me is what he liked about each of these women was the way they looked at him. And I'm thinking, whoa there, fella, could you be any more narcissistic than that? Like, what you like about them is how much they like you. That's crazy.
And that's the only reason why I think he may pick Teresa, because she is obsessed with him. Like I think the other 2 women really like him, but I think when Faith had the moving issue where how would they make it work with the moving, I think that like raised a little thing in him to say, she's not willing to uproot her life for me.
She seems to me to be the only one that really gets it and has a grasp on reality.
Right. And I just don't think they have a lot in common with her horseback riding. And I think she likes him, but she does have reality. And I think it would be more like, let's just date and see what happens.
Agree. And then
Did you not feel completely cringed out by the participation of the grandkids in this?
I thought it was so weird. I thought it was so inappropriate to bring these kids in. You could tell they told them what to say.
Absolutely.
But I just think, I don't know. It was funny. In the Bachelor series, you're meeting the parents. Well, now you're meeting the kids and the grandkids. And I like how Teresa tells her sisters that she's competing with 60-year-olds, like that's young, which I love that, by the way.
That's actually pretty realistic. That's probably the only thing she has said that shows that she has at least a clue about what she's up against. The thing is, and I'm trying to remember which daughter it was. Now it escapes me, but there was the daughter talking about him, and you could tell that she was uncomfortable with what she was saying because she was playing with her hair a lot.
Yeah, that was Teresa's daughter.
Teresa, and so she's talking about it like, okay, if mom's happy, but she's twisting her hair and moving it around, and I'm like, body language is telling me that she thinks this is just the worst.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to go back to that they were on a Ferris wheel again. I mean,
yes.
I'm like, why are we back on a Ferris wheel? Like I don't know. I thought this one.
He's trying to kill them off.
Yes, I just thought this was uncomfortable when he told Leslie and Faith that he loved them. Mm-hmm. He didn't tell Teresa, and I don't know. And then at the end, when he was crying and he couldn't do the rose thing, I thought that was a little embarrassing, only because these two women are standing there waiting to see which one he's going to pick, and he runs out of the room. Like a
little bitch. I'm sorry. These women, I'm sorry, but these women, I was so infuriated with him, and I don't know how much time really elapsed. They obviously are making you wait. Right. And it could have been a 10-minute wait for them. I don't know that, but I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you're not the one here who should be upset. I get that you want us to know that you're empathetic to these women, and I get that you want us to know you're not a monster.
And also, and it just brought on so much drama, and I know they did that for TV to leave it for this coming Thursday, but I don't know. I thought it just, I definitely.
And is there an episode this week, or is it going to be like an After the Rose kind of deal? Because I think I'm so confused.
No, I think After the Rose is after he gives the last rose.
I know, but there's some kind of special happening. I think they're trying to stretch it out. I'm not sure. I'll have to consult my TV guide.
I think they do an episode this week, and that's when he gives the one rose to the two ladies that were standing there. Okay. And then it goes into After the Rose, the first episode, and then I think they finish it off on who gets the final rose next week. They've drawn it out, but everyone's saying that if he doesn't pick Teresa, that she should be the next Golden Bachelorette, and I absolutely don't see that in any way, shape, or form.
Me neither. I could see Leslie doing it.
I could see Leslie or Faith doing it, but Teresa just doesn't have enough personality to take that on her own. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Or maybe that's where they bring back your Joan.
I thought she was fabulous. And she's in the after ceremony. I'm still not counting her out. I don't know why. I just still am not counting her out. But I'll be watching till the end. But I don't see a new one happening after this one.
Yeah,
it's just a different feel.
Well, the kids being involved to me was just a big old blah. So I didn't enjoy that part at all. I thought that was just repulsive, especially because, you know what, Nana's about to get jilted. Nana's about to get heartbroken, and you're like kind of part of the storyline now.
Right.
In a healthy circumstance, you wouldn't even bring those kids in until things are pretty solid.
Right.
Are you my new grandpa? Come on.
Yeah. I mean,
are you my new pop? Oh.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing was very uncomfortable when it came to having the grandkids involved. I think that's part of why this doesn't work, because you're not dealing with parents and siblings. You're dealing with kids and grandkids. And, yes, he met her brother, but I don't know. I just think that they it was definitely an interesting concept. I just don't think it has the ability to go from one Bachelor to another Golden Bachelor to,
I agree with you completely. I've had my fill. I think I'm good now.
Yes, me too. But I will be watching to the very end, and I'm more interested to see whoever he picks if they really end up together, because I don't know. I think he's a good player, and I think that he may start out with the one he picks, but then no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think he's starting to show his true colors. I don't think he's quite the naive country bumpkin he led us to believe at the beginning.
Yeah, he can play a good game of Golden Bachelor.
Would he be like a happily married, faithful husband till death do they both part if Tony was alive? I don't doubt that. It's just that I don't think as a single man who has all the, everything's weighted on the scale towards him, I don't think he's waiting around for somebody to fix him up.
Yeah. Well, if he picks Teresa, I'm going to be shocked because I don't see the chemistry there.
No, I think she's out. I really do.
I'm really hoping it's between Faith and Leslie, and then we see which one he ends up going for with those two. But they say it's going to be a shocker, so that's why I kind of think he's going to pick Teresa,
that would be a shocker.
That's why I'm saying the word on the street is there's going to be a shocking ending.
Well, to me, that's Joan coming back. I think that would be a good shock. I could get behind that.
Me too. So anyway, always another chapter in the Golden Bachelor next week.
There you go. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for Uncluttered and Unfiltered.